living in those places. So the profit opportunity for them is not significant. So we want to go there and invest in towers so that we can connect our people and ensure that no one is left behind.
Quickly, let's close on this. Sure. And I'll take you on the issue of how your ministry, the intersection between your ministry and national security.
Absolutely.
There are reports of kidnapping and using unregistered or fraudulently registered SIMs. Why do these SIMs still exist in the system despite the NIN SIM linkage policy of Nigeria?
I cannot. So what you've put to me is whether it's fact to you, I don't know where you're getting that from. And I don't know who has that evidence that there are people with SIMs that are not registered.
We just imagine that with BVN, with NIN, these guys are making calls. We should be able to track them with some level of
It's more technical than that.
Communication.
It's more technical than that. There was an exercise that was conducted by the telcos to clean out all SIMs. The reason why the president actually pushed us to invest in towers in those areas was the fact that we realized that there was a special kind of technology that they were using to call. They weren't using the normal towers. They bounce calls off multiple towers. When they leave, that's why they enjoy living in areas where it's unconnected at all. And when we're talking about these things, it's why we're upgrading the 2 satellites we have, that if our towers are not working, our satellites will work, because Nigeria is the only country in West Africa with satellites, with communication satellites. We're now bringing new satellites to upgrade the capabilities of those. Is why we're investing in the fiber. Is also.
In conclusion, what the government is telling us is that there is nothing they can do about terrorism in Nigeria. There is nothing they can do to neutralize these terrorists. That is what they are telling us. So the Minister of Communication is trying to make us understand that the terrorists are more technologically inclined. Wow! How are they using those SIMs without registering them? Why do you make us go through stress to get our SIMs registered before we can use them? Why do you have to make us go through stress, making us believe that it is for our own good? It is for the good of everyone in the country. So we have to do it for our security. Why? Sometimes, if you misplace your phone and you want to retrieve your SIM, the kind of stress you would pass through, you would have no choice but to get another SIM. You would have no choice but to get another SIM, to get a new SIM, because of the stress you would pass through to get your old SIM. So the laws are just to stress Nigerians. Make us believe that the system is working, whereas the system is not doing anything. From all indications, what the Nigerian government is telling us is that there is nothing they can do about the insecurity in Nigeria. It is telling us that there is nothing they can do to neutralize terrorists. They are bigger than the government, obviously. Terrorists are now bigger than the government. And some of you are still rejecting Donald Trump's help because of natural resources. That is the only reason you have. The Americans are coming for our natural resources. Now you get them. What have you benefited as a Nigerian, common Nigerian? I'm not talking to you as a politician, because the natural resources are for you. As a common Nigerian, what do you benefit from the natural resources? Of what use is having wealth when you are still looking wretched, when you are still looking helpless, looking tattered? Of what use is your wealth? Of what use is your wealth if you have to look wretched, hungry, looking poor? Of what use is your wealth? Now you get the natural resources, the limestone, the crude oil. Now you get them. Now your papa. What are you protecting? Helping your enemies protect their properties? That is what you are doing. That is what you are doing. If that is the reason you are rejecting help from President Donald Trump, then you are sick. You are sick. So these bandits cannot be traced. That is what they are making us understand. So we should accept our fate. Whenever we have to go out, we should go with the mind that we may come back or we may not come back. We should accept that fate and live in fear on a daily basis. So we should live with this trauma of insecurity on a daily basis. That is what the government is saying. Because all this analysis they are giving, it is not giving any hope. It is not giving us any hope. Now you are claiming that these people cannot be tracked, which means they are more technologically inclined than the government. But some people come in contact with these people. The other day, Mr. Bayo Onanuga was claiming that sometimes the government does not negotiate with the terrorists. Somebody who they listen to would just put a call across to them and they would release their victims. So this person cannot help the government to track these terrorists. So these terrorists cannot be tracked through this person. If you can contact them, that means you can also track them. That is what it means. So the dots are not connecting. The dots are not connecting. You are telling us that you cannot track these people. And the other day, another person was telling us that sometimes the government does not have to negotiate or pay for terrorists to release their victims. That someone who they listen to, who they respect, would just put a call across to them and they would release their victims. So through that person, you cannot track the terrorists. That means that person is also a terrorist. Yes. That person they listen to is also a terrorist. Why not tell us who the person is? At least someone who can speak to terrorists and they would obey should be a national treasure, right? Let us know who the person is so that we can give that person the respect he or she deserves. Let us recognize that person. Give that person a national recognition, since the person has no ties whatsoever with the terrorists, but he can just put a call across to them and they would obey him without the government paying a dime. We need to know who that person is. Is the person a spirit? You cannot track these terrorists. Are they spirits? Are they ghosts? But you can track innocent Nigerians. And to think that they are even lying, blatant lie. Because we have seen videos of these terrorists in numbers, large numbers, going for a meeting. We have seen the videos. You cannot track them, but they attend meetings. They meet with these traditional rulers. We have seen the videos now. We have seen the videos. So you cannot get them through the traditional ruler. You come out to tell us lies. The message is clear, very clear. These terrorists are bigger than the government. The government has something to do with them. You see all these explanations, they are not making sense. The government has something to do with them, because how can the government be telling the citizens that the terrorists are more technologically inclined, and yet you claim that they are aggrieved because they are not educated, they don't go to school, so they are angry. That is the reason they are attacking innocent Nigerians. That is what some of them are claiming. Sheikh Gumi is claiming that they are feeling left out. They don't go to school, they are not educated, they don't live a good life. That is the reason they are angry. So if they don't go to school, how are they more technologically inclined than the Minister of Communication? If you are claiming that these people are dull, they are dumb people, they don't go to school, they are illiterate, how are they more technologically inclined? which means there is someone backing them up, someone who is literate, someone who is educated, someone who knows the in and out of the Nigerian government. So that person is working with them. Because you cannot tell me that someone who is not educated can be smart enough all by themselves to do certain things and you cannot track them. And you are claiming that this person is an illiterate. You are claiming that this person is not educated. That means there are educated ones who are using these non-educated people to carry out the act of terrorism. That is what it means. Connect the dots because they are not connecting. That is what it means. That means there are educated people who are backing these people up. You cannot track terrorists indeed. The government is not giving us hope. And it is tiring. Sometimes when I even come across insecurity-related interviews, I skip the videos. I don't watch. I don't watch because they are depressing. The explanations they are giving are not giving us hope. They want us to accept our fate that nothing can be done about terrorism in Nigeria, which means the terrorists are bigger than the government. And some of you would set your ring light, set your camera, and say that Nigerians should not accept help from Donald Trump. He is coming for our natural resources. Now you get them. Is it for you? Is it for you? The people who are dead, who have been killed by these terrorists, do they know that Nigeria has natural resources? Even when they were alive, they never knew that Nigeria had natural resources because they were not benefiting. Just as we who are still alive are not benefiting. I am not benefiting. I'm speaking for myself. I am not benefiting from these natural resources. They are of no use to me. I would rather save my life and lose the natural resources that are already lost. Yes. So think, if the Nigerian government cannot do anything about insecurity, why are they rejecting help? If they don't have a hand in it and they have the interest of the citizens at heart, why are they rejecting help? Ask yourself that question. They cannot help you and they are rejecting help. Something is wrong. It is only passing a message that the government and the terrorists are working together. That is the only message it is passing. Because you cannot tell me that we all have a common enemy and there's nothing we can do to defeat that enemy. Someone is coming to help us fight and defeat that enemy. You are saying no, you don't need the person's help, which means I am the enemy here to both you and the person. That is what it means. So you and the person are my enemies. We don't have a common enemy. You cannot track terrorists, but you stress Nigerians to register their SIMs. That means you are doing it for formalities. You are just stressing us for nothing. If terrorists can be using unregistered SIMs, it means everything is wrong. Everything is wrong with the policies you are implementing. How stressful it is to be a Nigerian at this point. How stressful it is to be a Nigerian at this time. Very stressful.